Great. Hello, everybody. We are very happy to be here, and we are very happy that you are here. We come from Finland, Finnish Broadcasting Company, and we are happy to share with you what we have learned and experienced in terms of social TV phenomenon called DOCUMENTARIES. DOCUMENTARIES was actually made around award-winning documentaries and hosted by two talents called Riku Rantala and Tunna Milonov. And it's combined by live radio show, live television show, a huge online content, and many real-life events. So we nearly used all kinds of means to create a better user experience. And what happened was that young audience was really engaged. I have heard, or I have been a part of many discussions here this year in Sheffield, and there are a lot of concerns whether documentaries have future and what sort of a future. Are broadcasters even interested in documentaries in the future, whether they can be financed, and do they even have slots in the future? After our session, I hope we can give you some positive answers for these concerns. I'm happy to introduce you, our panelists. Here we have Mr. Ari Ylantila. Ari is the commissioning editor for Factual in Finnish Broadcasting Company. And Elisa Pietarila, she is the executive producer for this content, and she has been very much involved on online content by herself. And so on. And my name is Ritva Leino, and I'm the head of multi-platform in Wiley, and I'm the chair of this session now. So please join us, and let's have a look.
Thank you for being here at Sheffield. I think it's a fruity and great theme and discussion around documentary films, because everybody loves documentary films, but only just few watches them. That's the fact, compared to different kinds of TV content. Our idea was to have this idea that we just make people, we force people to watch documentaries.
Peacefully.
Not violent involved, but almost every other kinds of tools or tricks. This is how it looked like.
Tarinoiden luomia ennen kaikkea uuden televisiosaran Kotkan pesästä näyttää. Kuin Dokumentarieissa on 12-osainen sarja kaikille laatudokkarille ystäville. Ohjelma käsittelee niitä jokaista koskettavia suuria teemoja loistavien dokumenttielokuvien alla ja pyrkii vastaamaan enempää ja vähempää kuin kysymykseen, mitä on olla ihminen. Luvassa on siis seksiä, psykedeliaa, huumeita ja väkivaltaa ja tarinoita maailmasta, joita ei välttämättä ihmisessä. Eli Disney valmistaa Yle Pelaa. Joka viikon dokumentissa salaisen projektion vuodeksi noudataan suukapuloituja Orofonin avulla heillestä pakotettuna joku arvostamamme asiantuntija vierasjun kanssa illan teema reivitään kappaleiksi ja kassataan suunnilleen kohdalla. Tähän keskusteluun on myös kaksi toivotaan osallistuvan kielen sosiaalisen median kautta. Eli kaikki foorumistit spännääjät, harhaiset pihapuhuja, ylilaudun floodaajat, trollit ja tietenkin omalla nimellään järjestetään arvioitua internetin tukivila. Dokumentissa vanhan pärähäntänyt ja audiovisuaalista dokumentaarioita parhaille asiantuntijoiden kanssa. Jonkun rikosta keskiviikossa aamulla ja luupaan
So these were the guys. Riku is a journalist and Tunna is a director, and they used to look like this. They were traveling around the world and they made this amazing Mad Ventures traveling series. The idea was that they are regular guys who love good content, and they are also themselves, they are creating content. They made this selection of their favorite films, 12 of them. All of those documentaries, they were opening up a theme, bigger theme behind them. For example, you can't see, somehow there is not enough red color in this screen, but the black box over there is Kojanis katsi. My favorite one to be shown for the youth audience and classic. Kojanis katsi's theme was human nation, society.
I would like to pick Searching for Sugarman, mainly because it's a really huge, great story, and our theme was to discuss about music industry nowadays.
There are a lot of favorites, but I pick one. It's the Queen of Versailles, which is the ultimate story of greed and division of wealth.
So these 12 themes were, from our perspective, the minimum. What do you need to know to ask to answer the question, what is it to be a human being? Ari can tell perhaps something about the numbers.
Yeah, we'll come to this in the conclusion part, the result, but few facts here already. First, I want to remind you that the Finland is a small nation. We have only 5 million people. So if we give you the figures, just put them 10 times and you're in the UK level. So 10 times multiply. Okay. Next slide, please.
So the radio.
Yes, we had a lunchtime radio show, and the ratings were the same as the biggest, the most popular they were. And the social media extension, the shout box, they topped all the figures, so it was a record-breaking phenomenon.
There were hundreds of thousands of new viewers for these mostly old documentary films. They were already screened, broadcasted at Wiley, so we took them from the catalogue and we got new audiences for them. The internet content with Ari's measurements, so 10 times bigger, so 300,000 people UK, but 30,000 people browsed our internet content every day. That's, for Finland, it's huge.
And but the share is 23%. It was Wednesday night, 10 o'clock, so it doubles the average of the ratings. But for us, the ratings itself were not the crucial ones, because we wanted to change the structure of the audience for the much more younger direction, and that was also what we achieved.
And that's why the VOD share doubled, because of the young audience.
Yeah, sorry, this was the VOD, I didn't notice, yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
you have to follow this.
yeah. Right.
Amazing figure was that just after our first few shows, already 80,000 people, 80% of Finnish population knew what Doc Ventures was, and it was a nighttime slot after 10 started, and it ended up around 1 a.m. So.
And normally when we introduce a new series, if we reach the number of 50%, that's good, say, our department of research. So this is huge, this 80%.
And this Meltwater wanted to analyze our social media reach, and they found out that even Doc Ventures itself was mentioned with hashtag almost 17,000 times during the season. And it was phenomenal compared to any other TV format before, or televised events such as Eurovision Song Contest or huge...
Strictly Come Dancing or these, yeah.
Or Big Brother,
ones.
we were fighting against Big Brother. We had the same slot for a little while. So all this created an amazing discussion in internet.
Yeah, this is this is a typical situation of the Finnish people. So we are not very
The
talkative.
typical Finnish guy,
Or
you
social.
know.
This is from the Aki Kaurismäki movie, but that's we have a lot of proverbs that it's better be silent and work hard. If you speak a lot, you are stupid.
My favorite one is that everyone starts a meeting by, "We didn't come here to talk," and that's it.
We didn't
This
come
is-
here to talk either.
But somehow people started to talk. People started to discuss. People
Argue,
started to.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the audience took us well, and the awards, what we received were numerous. We got
Enormous.
fancy keynote show here, the TV Act of the Year, the Journalism Awards, Best Factual TV Content, Digital Media Awards, Social Media Awards, and that means only that there are lots of awards. But we managed to do, we recognize that we did well because of having these awards.
Great. And then maybe we have to talk a little bit about this social television phenomenon, how it was built and structured.
Yeah, a couple of months ago there was a story in the Guardian that the headline goes that the BBC needs a young audience more than the young audience needs the BBC. I think that's the case and the dilemma that we are all facing in the public broadcaster. And luckily what happened to us and to me is that these guys came with the golden plate and they offered some kind of solution to this problem. And we knew beforehand that in Finland the younger audience is interested in documentaries, but the package is obviously not the right. And the younger audience is very sensitive in that sense that if they feel that someone is teaching or preaching for us, they just reject the offer. So that is something that these guys came with to us, and Elise explains what's the idea, what they did.
For us, the public broadcasters had it all, and it was a dream team because we wanted to penetrate on the all available media as forcefully as possible, and to make it not. You mentioned by teaching, by preaching. So in the language of these younger people, and younger means under 45 in YLE language. So even not that young. But we wanted to broadcast great factual content, and this is how it all started, by drawing this map where radio and TV, social and digital media presents these documentaries as well as possible.
Yeah. This is actually the real map. Let's go yksi askel taaksepäin. Yeah. This is actually the map that the guys draw us to visualize in a way where they are heading to.
Very first one, yeah.
Very first one, and very true one.
Yeah.
But this vision was really great, but it was also great momentum to public broadcaster. Because we had already thinking different ways to deliver content. And we wanted to use second screen, but really we were not lucky to get it right. One of the reasons are that we don't have the process inside the public broadcaster how to deliver multi-platform or transmedia content. We work in silos, and because of that, usually the content is just separate content in different platforms. So we didn't get the right content in the right time for the right user. It was very, very difficult. But when we saw this map, we understood that now we have the concept which boosts all medias and content makers to work together for the user's best. And we were lucky because we were quite ready inside YLE, And actually we had developed a tool, a platform map, and after that vision, what the guys had, we draw this first map, and this is really the first platform map that we ever did. And nowadays we do draw them really 3-5 a month. So it really became a tool as well. So put it in this way, really, this vision changed a lot inside the broadcaster and inside YLE.
Can I add one thing? Because I think what we missed in YLE, maybe the case in the other company as well, that we have divisions and departments, and that the internet division, the people there, they say that the TV is dying, and they said nobody's watching a longer clip than 4 minutes. And that's bullshit, because they can watch 1 hour 40 minutes if it's got 2 hours. And at the same time, the TV people were afraid of this development, and there was a clash between, and there were very few people who understand the both. And in this team, there were guys who were working, who were young, but they had worked in television, but they also were very good in the new media. So they can mix the combination better. They could mix it better than the old guys, I think.
And what is the art of this is that in the same time when we got all these medias work together, this is a really very good planned story architecture. So what is the most important thing is that you got to have the story there, and you have to tell it in the ways that it goes further from one platform to another. And it means a lot of planning.
Yeah, and this could be called our toolkit for the media. In very heart of it, you find the documentary films, but we fuss about those documentary films because we all love them, and we believe that that's the most precise and artistic and fun and inspiring factual content that TV can ever have. Radio's role was to arouse the appetite, to bring an interesting guest and start the day. Everything happened in one day, Wednesdays, and radio started it. Then the social media lifted some opinions or themes from the radio discussion. Important role for the social media was also to pick up things and to put them straight to the screenplay. So we used a lot of outsourcing tools. We asked questions, or we made polls, or we made activisms, or we gathered information in every kind of sense. And then the TV facilitated and made it. TV is a perfect tool to put it to force people to watch it on the same moment. And combined with social media, it makes sense to discuss about it. And Twitter was just exploding because of these wonderful documentary films. And live events were really important part of the whole show. We had this motivation and goal to make it as live as possible whenever we could. And Arena is the iPlayer of YLE, and the meaning of Arena was to widen the amount of time that people were watching those documentaries.
One example, when we had, for example, the act of killing, the famous film about violence in Indonesia. So the theme was violence. So in a radio show, they were discussing about the violence in general, in different forms and things like that, and raised up questions. And then the film was introduced, and the film was, of course, about the particular case of violence. And then the discussion after the film was about this Indonesia case and what is to be learned from that. So it circled like that round the clock.
So we created this 360 media presenting the factual content in all different kinds of perspective, giving ideas, different even articles, different kinds of content, and the documentary films plus the live talk show after created the idea of watching it together live, and we use this term as the biggest documentary film club in Finland, and our social media has now 70,000 members in Facebook, and so we actually are a big movie club. Our motto was that if it didn't happen live, it is not really social. So we made it everything as live as possible. We showed making of from the studio just before watching. We asked people to watch films together with us. This is a moment where 3,000 people gathered in the city.
Helsinki city
In the heart of
center.
Helsinki.
Yeah, there is the Museum of Contemporary Art, and it's around those buildings.
It was really wonderful moment watching Baraka with this sort of tribe of ours. And important thing was to bring the fans, the guys, Riku's and Tunna's previous Madventure fans. We invited them to this circle of trust. We showed them, they were the first ones that we showed any content secretly, and they became our ambassadors, and they started to do their own thing in social media. They started to raise awareness of the show, and they asked questions, and they got really involved.
They're like, the Deadheads, the big Grateful Dead fans who follow the band, that follow the band all over the world. So they're kind of Deadheads of Madventures, these guys.
Yeah. So our social media had a huge reach, almost 20% of Finnish population. So our posts and our engagement was in its own level. Even our president, Tarja Halonen, wanted to visit us because of liking the thing, what we did. And these are our guests. They are Hare Krishnas or Meri Koutaniemi, wonderful documentary photographers, international musicians, rappers, artists. The idea was that we don't let the audience only watch, but we wanted to make them think, discuss, participate, and take the participation to another level.
And now we have a look more briefly, because every week had the week's theme, and the theme is based on the documentary. But the main task was to get audience discuss about the theme, not just about the documentary. So now Elisa is gonna tell us how the theme is structured, and we are going to talk about food.
Yes. Let's take food, for example. 2 weeks before the food theme, there was a radio show where another guest for nature theme challenged, but just by accident, he challenged Riku and Tunna to reduce their meat consumption. Thank you, Ari. And our social media posted about it, asked about it. Is it a good idea? Do people want to join? Yes, they did. Someone proposed that let's use hashtag Meatless Month. Someone else also did, and it became bigger, and discussion about it, and lots of blogs started to join in and wanted to make it personal. Then the food week came, and we started again with the radio show, having an inspiring nature foodist person in the radio. Then we got to television. We had a foodist there, restaurant owner, inspiring person, and then the social media hyped about our documentary film Food Inc., and someone created a new poster for it. Of course, that was an important way of expressing yourself during the season. the Facebook group gathered 30,000 people, and 30,000 people were they were not consuming meat for 1 month, and that was October. So they started to share pictures of their food, vegetarian food. They started to give recipes, share recipes. So then we decided that, okay, let's make a recipe book. And we crowdfunded it. We got almost 1,400 people funding it. You could even download it for free, but if you wanted, you could support the project. And everything ended in a live happening. And what was the result about it was that Riku and Tunna, they are the first people in this planet to receive an anti-animal prize before, and now they receive this pro-animal prize for their work. So that was an example with the food, and we kept going on. We did, for every documentary film, there was an activism, there was a discussion, there was something really happened.
Sorry, can I say you that in terms of the food and the meatless month, October, the structure of the whole thing was planned, but then there was a lot of reaction from audience point of view. A lot of users got involved, and all those things like recipe book, the real life let's get together kind of thing, the real life event and so on. They were like reactions from the users' input. And what we learned about this is that if you get really the users and audience to talk with you, you need to react. You can't just go on with the content what you have planned. And then when you react, you get them more engaged. And that's what these guys did. But most of the thing, if you make a transmedia or cross-media project and you haven't been planning it very carefully, it's very difficult to react because it's chaos. It's a total chaos, and you can't hold on the whole project anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point, because there needs to be, of course, a good plan, but then there needs to be resources for reacting for something that gets viral or starts to interest people. For example, with our religion theme, 500 people wanted to join back to some religion. There is a big phenomenon in Finland that everyone wants to leave the church. Yeah. So we created a website that asked people to join in. We are not religious people, but we wanted to go against the trend. And here's a bishop receiving new members from our Riku. Here's a Finnish social and health minister receiving our crowdsourced discussion paper about cannabis sativa. Or we created a website where you could price your own sex, for what price you would give sex for, and all this, the factual content wasn't serious, it was engaging, and it was even so that we didn't want to give an idea that we know better by showing documentary films. We are only interested in these themes, and that's why we want to watch them together with the users. So mainly it was thought-provoking, and I think that was really the key, how to get young audiences to be interested in. And then maybe we move to lessons to learn. So what we learned about the whole thing.
The conclusion, the first slide, please. I think this is the most crucial picture. This is on the left. There's a structure of the audience of that slot a year before, and then with the doc ventures. And if you look the picture on the right, you can see clear change. I think this speaks for itself quite clearly. So we had a big goal, and we really made it.
Sorry, there is words in Finnish. I apologize. The first one is before, and the other one is afterwards.
Yeah, before and yeah. So it changed totally. What is very important is branding, because we know all that there's 100 times more content available that you have time to watch or consume. So you have to make a distinction. You have to market your content. You have to find the way. So the branding is difficult at least for us in the public broadcaster, because we are not supposed to use the same means as the commercial television. But what we did, we had a brand. We had a good brand, the Doc Ventures, the Mad Ventures, with all their followers, and they had the credibility. I think it's very important. They had the street credibility among the audience, the difficult ones, the difficult audience. So we both, we made it just like we pay for the format. We paid for them for this being famous and feeling good. It's like, you have Jonah Lumley going to the polar bear. It's the same thing, but these guys have the street credibility. That was very important. And one factor is which I think is crucial, is the live events. And we made this event-based television. And I don't believe anymore that much in normal scheduling television. I think that we should, as often as we can, do the event. So if we have a series of 6 parts, we put it in 1 week and we make an event, then that it's not one show per week system anymore. And they say that the events, live events, is one of the biggest growing business around the world at the moment. If you look at the records industry, what has happened? But the sales are diminishing, but the gigs are getting bigger, because it's the tension, it's the sharing, the feeling. So I think the same thing is happening with the television. Television is not dying. It's far from it. It's really, really, really big thing still. But you have to do it from the different way. And the social media is like, it's very lucky that we have this kind of new tool. And if we can really combine these different elements, then we have a content. I don't say that we don't have 360 degrees, it's 380, because the live events is the crucial 20 degrees plus there. So it's not the circle, I don't know what it is, but it's the thing.
Yeah. And here we have a pic of a happy user. He wanted to send a pic of him to us. And we are very happy to get really audience engaged. And of course, we are very happy to get younger audience engaged, because as a broadcaster, it was our target. But Doc Ventures had a really huge impact on Finnish media landscape. I could really say that there was an era before Doc Ventures and after Doc Ventures, because nowadays I think all broadcasters, they are asking, is this something like Doc Ventures? And everybody is mirrored through Doc Ventures. But also because I think there has been constant discussion about media crises, the loss of younger audience, the big change in media and so on. And we are very worried whether television or broadcasters do have any kind of impact in the future. Now, this phenomenon showed us that actually the media can be more powerful than ever. And I think it gave a really big hope for us as a broadcaster as well. But what we learned is that the broadcaster has to change. Broadcaster has also to change. And what we have to do is to understand the users much more better together with the producers. So broadcasters and the producers have to work together and understand really much more briefly the user's mind and what users want. So what we learned actually together with the producer is that it's really, really important to understand the user.
And understanding the audience means listening the audience and communicating with the audience, in this case for 24/7, because it was a short period of time and intense, rapid movement. But it also means giving an example. You have these wonderful documentary films, and we believe that watching documentary films should look like this. It's great fun. You can do it together. You can share your experience. And when we shared our experience, audience started to share their experience, and we got all these amazing, weird, artistic or
Not so artistic.
greetings, or for every theme there was an artist. Lots of artists, they started to make their own content, and yes, it's really all because of these documentary films. So especially here in Sheffield, I think it's so delightful to understand that they were the ones to cause all this fuss. And we got people sending us pictures where they are watching documentaries. They wanted to make their own little gags, and this picture shows it all, that someone is so into our kumare that he wants to join the atmosphere with the vacuum cleaner, and when sometimes it happens that they stole our show, and they kind of, we couldn't handle the communication and interest, and then when they do that, it becomes their show, and that's crucial for the fact that then suddenly everybody watches those documentaries and not only appreciates them. So this is sort of our ugh. But I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and perhaps you have questions. If not,
Comments?
Yeah, comments or questions, please. Do you want to know something more? Please.
in the shadow of war
They are
makers.
going to bring you the mic.
The mic is coming.
Yeah.
Thank you, that was very interesting. I don't think this works, but anyway. Do you think that the kind of strategy that you did in Finland would work as well in the UK, given that our society is not bigger and there's lots more people here? How do you think that would work here in this country?
Well, I'm not an expert in the UK media scene, but in principle, I don't see any obstacle. What would be so different that it wouldn't work? But I cannot guarantee. If we sell it to you, I can guarantee that it works. But if you really understand the basics and you make like any other format, you have to make a localization and understand what must be changed for this country. So I wouldn't see why it wouldn't work.
I can't see any reason why it wouldn't work, because the documentaries that we picked, they are international documentaries and well known everywhere. So what you have to do is to discuss with your audience, and you must be the best persons to know how to deal with your audience and the users. And if you do it in a nice way and you have really dialogue with them, I think you will succeed better than we.
We made a format Bible, and in the core of it is who are the ones to show these documentaries. Our Riku and Tunna were the world travelers. They were smart and fun people, and they had their own fan bases. So I think the first question is that who would be the ones in Britain? Who would be the ones that people want to discuss with?
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I forgot my microphone. And that would be kind of like big necessity. Kind of leaders who will get the word out there and create a hype around your events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what. Sorry, I don't know what's the case here, but in Finland, the normal tone of this kind of it's dead serious, and then I think in the UK you have more layers in your storytelling. You have irony and you have this kind of as a broader culture, but in a way it can be a very good tool, advanced tool as well. But you have to understand what's the problem when the message is not going, into the audience, and then a little bit change the tune, and there it is.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Hi. I wonder if you can mention how the theme was, as well as I just wasn't sure how much of the runtime of the show was discussion after the film, and was that part of the live event? Were you fielding live, tweeting live conversation?
Thank you.
Good.
We didn't even mention, it was 45 minutes live discussion after the film. So it was, depending on the film, the whole show was from 2 hours.
The introduction of the film was about 12 to 15 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
So
Maximum.
yeah. But I think the theme, you're right, the theme is extremely important. So it must be well executed, and it must be focused, and it must be important, of course, and things. And you have to find a good example, like food incorporation or act of killing. There's no need to explain. They are so good in itself, but they raise so much questions. And I think that some of the guys said that when you have seen the good film, you're so overwhelmed with the questions, and you have the burning desire to discuss with someone. But normally you're alone. So the basic finding is very simple. You just find the audience and company to share the idea how I feel, and ask maybe some questions and things like that. So that it is.
Yeah, and something that is going to we got a new season. Thank you for it, and now we have started to gather people locally together. Someone pointed us out that they have been watching the whole season. They had this 20 people showing club. So now there is going to be hundreds of people in big theaters together. So we want to make it, we even use this way of expression that it's irresponsible to show an effective documentary film and let the person alone. So it should be discussed later. And one interesting thing for if you think about Britain and how to make it in here is that the selection of the films was also guided by the fact that they were all easy to discuss about. So that was an important thing also with the selection. Themes that were easy to facilitate a discussion.
But I'm really looking forward what comes out of the second season, because they are really building up local documentary clubs around in Finland, and they watch together those documentaries, and after that, from the studio, they have their own line to the local clubs, and they can give their input. And then we're going to see what comes out of this. If the whole Finland starts to discuss about documentaries, wow, it could be something. Next question, please.
Yes, please. I come from Mexico, and first of all, congratulations. I think it was a great presentation and a very useful, successful story. My interest is in education, and I have in mind a social project to try to improve education in my country. And I think this model will be beautiful. I mean, it is so rich, and you can engage the young audiences. We in Mexico are highly influenced mostly by Hollywood, and all they want to watch is the film, action, horror, I mean, all this type of movies. I think this way is a beautiful way of bringing documentaries into life. And I wonder if you have any suggestions, because you raise a point, very valid, that when people feel they are going to be educated, they do not want to get the interest in, I don't know if you have some ideas or guidelines on how we can turn it around. I think making or having a funny spokesperson as you had might do it, but if you had any suggestions for this project, I will appreciate it.
Yeah, the important thing in everything was the tone of voice. That we, for example, in social media, we didn't use any of these verbs that watch, do, look here, there is a new thing. That we always, we use social media exactly like you do in your personal life, that you are asking, you are wondering, you are figuring out. And the way, for example, Riku Rantala, the smaller guy, his way of expressing himself is, it's not coming from up to down. It's not teaching. It's just he's mad about things with what comes with production of food, or he's really into these things. So if you have in Mexico, if you have people who are socially conscious, who are good role models, or they have some mistakes in themselves. For example, Riku Rantala has a little belly and he's a choppy guy and he's angry and not perfect. So it's easy to see that, okay, this guy doesn't know better. He just wants to discuss about things with me. And nobody wants to be taught, but everyone has an opinion. So that's what we thought. That's the different kind of perspective on valuable information and talking about it.
Your question was, of course, very good, and if I knew the answer, I would be really rich. But there is one thing. I was in your beautiful country in 1996 when the input was in Guadalajara, and then I was telling about our current affairs show I was producing. It was called A Bros, and I said on stage that my motto is that journalism is a very, very serious issue, but it's not that issue, not that important that there wouldn't be always room for a little bit of bullshitting or anything. So I would underline that don't be dead serious. If you can carnivalize somehow your attitude and the tone of coming, that's very important, because then you are not the teacher and preacher, because it can be a really important and serious issue like violence, or war. There can't be more serious, but you can tell about it not the same way as always. You can find some kind of new dimension or angle to come to it. And so if you find the guys like Riku and Tunna or ladies who have this street credibility, that's a good starting point, I would say.
And the use of social media was exactly that. We were receiving a lot of great ideas for straight from the viewers, from the audience. So it wasn't, we didn't figure it out at all. That was a really organic way of screenwriting. Yeah.
Everybody has an opinion.
Yeah. Thank you.
More questions?
Hi, thank you so much for coming to Sheffield and sharing this success story. I'm just curious, for, I don't know, the UK, Australia, America, are you imagining that you're going to be more like consultants, or is Doc Ventures now like a franchise that you could apply to another country, or how would you like us to engage with your model?
We are working together with Norway, and we haven't invented anything new, but the package is important. So that's why we created this sort of guideline for ourselves, and Norway was the first country to reach us. And actually, I have a wonderful list in my email about Norwegian guys, who are actually, most of them are women. But we are consulting them with everything that we learned from, just because there were a lot of things that we received this kind of a silence knowledge during the making of. But we are open to every. You can always email me and ask what would be the invention for or what would be good for you. We are happy to consult, or I don't think that we are going to sell formats, are we?
I'm saying that for sure, but I was asked, not I was asked, but there's a discussion always, what is the format? And I think the only criteria is if there's something that someone is ready to pay for, then it's a format, because you won't pay if it's nothing. So it can be valuable information in any form, but I'm not sure. But there's been a lot of interest. I've been in a EBU's TV directors meeting to promoting this series. Elisa was in a EBU doc group meeting in Amsterdam. And Riku was in Input in Helsinki, so we are here. So we are glad to preach about this, because we are so enthusiastic about it, and we are also a little bit proud of it.
Not a little bit.
Yeah, if this can travel, I believe this can be travel and this can be localized, but we can discuss. There's a lot of, we have been putting a financial input and effort for this. These guys, not guilty, they have been a really hard-working people, fantastic, but a lot of human resources is put into that. So, but we are open any kind of discussion, I think, yeah.
Yes. I can always be a flying producer. But yes, I think Ari mentioned it, the thing to, what we have learned, we were really hectic, because suddenly we started, it was a regular TV show, and we started to receive, I don't lie if I say, 300 private messages each day. We answered all of them. We took care of our people. We were in social media all the time. So, that was a surprise for us that it got so popular. So, consulting someone who has done it, my first advice would be to hire a social media person, to hire this and that. So we have valuable information, and we are happy to give it out.
Excuse me, wait for the mic, please.
Sorry?
Sorry.
I mean, to manage that traffic, how many people did you get in to deal with that?
Sorry, how many people?
To manage that traffic, how many
First,
people?
it was only me.
Yeah.
But then we got a wonderful social media manager, or our the person who started to communicate. Her job was only to communicate. But it was only the core team of Documentaries was Riku, Tunna, me, Risto Kuulasmaa, my partner, colleague, and this social media person.
But we
created the content.
Yeah, but frankly speaking, we underestimated totally the amount of work. So we were under budgeting it, and those people were in the edge of collapsing, because it was so huge amount of work. But they were so engaged that they wanted to, even they were fainting. And I think one very good concept all over is the engagement, and we had a different kind of engagement. First, you have to engage your audience. But what was important, because if there are any public broadcasters in this room, that at least in my company, I had to sell it for the different departments. I set up a meeting. I took one person from every department. I saw that it's important, because we have radio, we have television, we have internet, we have our production team, and 26 people came to that meeting, and they were shocking that, wow, all these people. I said that if I leave one out, he will be, or she will be jealous. I wasn't told in the first meeting, so I will not participate. So I had to get the engagement, and we really get the engagement. And the third engagement is the engagement from the production team, because they had to answer to every question, but they had this engagement. And engagement is something comes from your heart. And if it doesn't come, it's not there. So if you jump into this thing, so you have to be, you have to have this engagement, and you have to struggle, and you have to be proud. It's a hard work, but it's funny, and it's very palkitso, so as a rewarding. Thank you.
Rewarding.
Yes,
You
exactly.
speak Finnish?
Yeah.
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 Just a quick question. Do you buy in the documentaries? So you like the act of killing you would purchase?
We buy them and we co-produce them. Yeah.
Pre-buy and buy.
Yeah.
And co-produce.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
these three. But not we personally, but
You have
our
one
team
Yeah.
in
yourself?
Wiley.
Yeah.
But
Maybe.
Yeah.
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 It's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
screened
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Premiere on when was it?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
No, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think the one good thing to say out loud is that indie documentary film production companies are the best ones to create, produce this content, because we are also we are indie production company making documentary films and TV ourselves, and it must be. The driven force must be the love for the documentaries and the trust that must be the most valuable content for every audiences, but especially for these young kids in social media and attention span being too short and not having a valuable, how do you say, criticized information, critical information, critical information enough. So that's that's I think what documentary filmmakers ourselves we have it already, that the respect for the films.
But what has now been proven out is that really documentaries have a huge impact on young audiences, and that was the thing that as a public broadcaster, even though we knew, we couldn't believe in, because it hasn't been proved before. Now it's proved.
Yeah, there were tens of thousands of people watching their first documentary film ever. And it was amazing. For example, in YouTube, there was one guy called Niilo22. He was like, gosh, is this world so fucked up? He saw this Four Horsemen, and he was like, I didn't know about this. What the so this reaction that these people who never put on the telly to watch serious content, they were forced to see that, so they were really hooked into it and they wanted to share their opinion, and so they are we received, I think during the season we received 2,000 notes from people who never saw a documentary film before, and they were saying that can we do something that Doc Ventures is continuing, so that YLE starts to broadcast documentary films. They didn't know that YLE broadcasts
Because
documentary films.
doesn't watch us anymore, so they don't know, how would they know what we're doing?
What can we do? So we gave them an idea that, okay, just send an email for the CEO of Wiley, and he got hundreds of mails, and he wasn't angry at us. So, yeah. Wonderful
It's
that
an
you are asking so many questions.
Obvious continuation question, of course. Will there be a continuation?
Yes.
Yeah, we have the second season coming, and like the Risto, one of the fathers of the whole idea, he said that we have the normal second album dilemma now, that are we playing without any risk? Say the Led Zeppelin, okay, that's not a good example because it developed, but are we taking risks? And all say that, yeah, we must, take some risk, because otherwise we deceive our audience. So we are planning at least 3 seasons, but of course we have to get something new, and we don't only have to invent new things, because the audience will help us. They will direct us. Let's go to that direction. We have to listen, but the basic format, radio show, television, I think they will remain the core.
And did the experience of working together, the departments, and also to work together differently in terms of PR as a total, has any of these experiences changed how you work with other kinds of programs at YLE? And, you know, will people and money be relocated to other sources, other tasks in the future, you think?
Yeah, as I said, it had huge impact because we had already thinking our new strategy in terms of digital and so on. But our directors, they were quite unsure what to do because television is so strong, even though we have these problems with young audiences and so on. But after Doc Ventures, they understood, for example, my director, Ismo Silva, who's the director of the medias, he said that after Doc Ventures, now we know what we have to do. We have to change our strategy, and also we have to change the process, how we work together with the different medias and get away from silos. So it had really huge impact. Yeah.
But that's also very understandable that some people think that this is a simple trick. They say that we have this contact, come and to make Doc Ventures to us, but it's not, because if you don't understand from the very hard and core what's made differently, so it's not a trick that you can easily put in every concept. It's not like that at all, but it's very understandable that some people think that well, that's quite simple, now we can repeat it, but that doesn't go like that at all. It can be done only, I think our company is not big in the European level. We can do a couple of these big events per year in factual side. So.
But also what came out was that because this project was so well structured, we have been developing new tools to really understand how to structure the publishing process, because it's totally different when we talk about transmedia and cross-media. So I think this is very important, how we speak about transmedia and cross-media projects, and how we also finance them, and how we get the medias together. As Ari said, he had to engage medias inside YLE because this was the first thing. But after that, we really hope that it will be much more easier.
One more, Uncle, since you still can listen. So being a public broadcaster is advantage, of course, because we have some kind of credibility. But it can be also, in a market-wise, disadvantage, because we have the commercial cinema complex who would be really eager to join forces with us, but it's very, very difficult for us because we are our existence is based on non-commercial things. So sometimes it's advantage, sometimes disadvantage, but maybe we can find some kind of way to do this cooperation there as well.
But I need to add that even though this was, how could I say, the tone of voice, what Elisa told us was humorous, thought-provoking, and everything like this. Inside the whole project was a mission, not to teach, but push people to think. What is it to be a human being? What is the world like today, and so on. So it was really content, very much that public broadcaster loves, after all.
I think we didn't mention that the guys wrote the Doc Ventures manifesto, which for you in Mexico, anywhere. Does it travel? I don't know, but this is really, really fine values and
the documentary filmmakers are the prophets of our times. is there? But perhaps your indie company could be the one in England, or your interest in Mexico. Let's start and let's push documentary film back to people's senses, because it's really it was so delightful to see how activating that well-structured information or characterization of life is. Documentary film is a perfect little piece of a view about our world, and when the audience who is not used to that sort of content, and the audience that is able to use social media for discussing about them, they love it. So
should we wrap it up?
Yeah. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming.
Here's the prize for each participation.